Welcome to 2025.
Yeah, well, thank you. And Happy New Year. Well, you can't say that anymore, can we? Really? It's a bit.
Well, yes, you can. You can do it all year.
Well, yeah, I'm very excited about this year. It's going to be lots of interesting projects and challenges, I'm sure. So
Absolutely. It's going to be one of those years that when the 31st of December comes, you're just kind of like, what happened there? Obviously, the biggest thing is of course how the shift in politics in the United States and how that's going to influence everything.
Yeah.
Basically, it's going to influence everything, and I do see things changing already, or at least there's an awareness when it comes to our fields, when it comes to content. Then people are a lot more skeptical and a lot more, let's wait and see. And there's no innocent bystander anymore.
No, you can't sit back and watch. You've got to be a participant.
You have to, yeah.
But look, yeah, quite apart from the politics, I remain optimistic, and I think there's going to be some interesting developments this year. I mean, I think we've already seen it with the news about DeepSeek and what's possible with generative AI and large language models. And actually, I mean, before that news broke, I mean, one of the themes that I'd sort of prepared to talk about was doing more with less, and that's exactly what DeepSeek have done. I mean, their constraint was lack of CPUs, GPUs, and they've managed to do it for like a tenth of the price of the American equivalent models with just as good outputs.
I think it's an amazing development, and also how quickly it's catching on.
I'm a big believer that constraints are a driver for innovation, because people have to innovate around limitations, whether that's timelines or budget or whatever. And we live in a world that is burning, and with sustainability, we've got finite resources. We need to live within our means, and I do believe that this is really good news for the environment, quite apart from anything else. If it means less data centers, less carbon burnt training large language models, I think this can only be good news.
Those kind of technological innovations, it's amazing what they're not being done out of a sustainable perspective, but it is supporting that sustainability. So, and that's actually where marketing is now. Marketing is very much sustainability has become a big USP. So being sustainable as a brand is becoming increasingly important. How you wrap your product, where your product is sourced from, all these kind of things, and also in terms of child labor and labor security, things like that. That is actually where marketing is very much focused on. So less focused on technology. Yes, we have the AI tools writing our pretty headlines, but ultimately it really comes down to how do we address Gen Y, Gen Z, millennials, and what's increasingly more important for them is saving the planet, and how you take care of that. And yes, we have something called fast fashion, but you do see more and more innovations around that as well, where people just say, no, let's go for vintage, let's share outfits and things like that. Let's keep it for a little bit longer. And then also going for sustainable fibers instead of,
Yeah.
something that is perishable. So that
Absolutely.
is I find that a very interesting shift, and it's not as much as an intrinsic value of marketeers to become sustainable. It's what society is demanding. So
Yeah.
that is a shift in perception of brands, I think.
I hope that continues, because that's really, really good news. I don't see enough of sustainability in the projects that I do. Don't see enough consideration made to it. I think the overriding consideration right now is cost cutting
Yes.
and survival.
Yes.
But yeah, it's all about, trying to squeeze as much out of either existing infrastructure or trying to use new technology to create new revenue streams. But I see less of that at the moment. I think there's more focus on, let's just lower our costs.
So when you're doing efficiency, efficiency can be in cost, it can be in volumes, it can be in timelines and things like that.
Yeah.
Usually when people talk about efficiency, they think about cost, but efficiency can also be doing more with less.
Yeah.
And yeah, one of the drivers is costs. And this is also something, of course, we've had some rough years. It hasn't just been COVID, it has been the energy crisis, the housing crisis, the Ukraine crisis. So there's been so many crises that we currently, everybody is also reluctant um, to invest.
Yeah.
In general, it's kind of like holding a wallet, saving for a rainy day, because we've had so many rainy days, really. And what I do like about it is that sustainability can actually support that message, because just making things a little bit more durable and doing things in a more efficient way can also help the environment. So it doesn't need to be an either or.
No, exactly. I think linked to that is another thing that drives efficiency is ways of working, and it is a it's not it's how you use the technology, not what technology do you have.
Yes.
You may not need to buy a whole new system. You could potentially just use the existing system in a more intelligent way, or that's something that
Oh, I like that.
come
Yeah.
across quite a
I
lot.
like that a lot, because that would also indicate that not all is lost when it comes to vendors.
Definitely.
What I saw a lot last year is that people going for their second dam or their third dam, because now
Yeah.
everything has moved to the cloud, and now we are trying to benefit as much as possible from the innovations done and the learnings done from the last couple of years. This means that having your old dam doesn't mean that you need to replace it. There is room for innovation, and it's also vendors need to understand how their technology is applied. And this is something that I've been passionate about for years, because a lot of vendors have no idea how their
Right.
software is being used. They sell it as a dam, but before you know it, it's being used for something completely different. And it's similar to Excel, isn't it? You come
Yeah.
across Excel sheets everywhere, and ultimately it's a calculation tool. It's that's where it's built from, but
Yeah.
everything is being done in Excel. So that's an understanding of how is my platform being used. So your purpose is there, but the application is also very much important. So that could be an
Yeah.
interesting thing for this year as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. So I think one other sort of theme that I've got for this year is all about sort of resilience and building resilience into supply chains and the systems and businesses that are out there. I mean, like you say, we live in uncertain times, and one of the biggest threats to that is cybersecurity,
Yes.
hacking. I think there's going to be much more sort of focus on resilience and how to build to make sure that the whole business doesn't fail if one of the systems gets compromised or something like that. So that's another theme that I'm seeing.
Yes. What I also see is that it does require people to have bad things happen to them first, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, I
So
mean that
so
just
you
just wait.
failing forwards, really.
It is
Unfortunately, because we've had these security officers screaming at us for almost a decade now, like, don't store your password in an Excel sheet and don't use
yeah
the same password over and over again. And we all know these kind of things, but then ultimately it needs to happen to you first, and it needs to happen to organizations first before
yeah.
something has been done. And then the question is, with the developments that we have nowadays, the damage can be so large.
But it's it's the human vulnerabilities as well. There
Yes.
was a news item this week with the British Museum had to close for a day after an unhappy ex-employee basically hacked into some of the systems and
Classic, isn't it?
and took their business off air.
Yeah.
Well, off air, made it made them have to close. And the British Library uh, was unavailable for months online. I don't think people could even take books out physically at one point because of a hacking and ransomware situation that they had, where they couldn't use any of their systems for months and
Wow.
months.
Imagine this happening to a hospital, you know,
Well, yeah,
that
yeah,
could end up
and
in life-threatening
it does.
situations. And
It does. It's
yeah, and power
it
plants, and it's
yeah,
everything is driven on technology, everything is driven on the interwebs.
yeah,
So if some cable gets pulled in some sea, which I cannot point onto a map,
yeah.
it's horrible, the implications that it can have to each and every one of us. So yeah, having that in place becomes super important. Um, but again, yeah, like I said, failing forward, because it needs to happen first before these vulnerabilities becomes
Well, yeah,
apparent.
yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, you may not be able to afford to have it happen once. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's I think resilience is an important thing anyway to have to build into your supply chain. But it's kind of it doesn't match the whole kind of agile fail fast
No,
ethos that we've followed for years,
no, yes,
and it's
it
completely opposite. Um,
yes. It's also how much, because obviously we want to do loads of innovations, but how much is it
yeah,
restraining us to do these innovations if you don't have it set up securely?
yeah,
What I notice when it comes to AI, for example, is that a lot of companies are not using AI because they have to open up their data sources. And that is definitely something that you do not want to do. Some data requires you to remain secure at every time, because the risks are just way too high. So that is interesting, how we're going to balance that one out, how we're going to innovate and
yeah.
also remain secure at the same time. Interesting.
Yeah.
So
So I think
I'm excited about 2025. So
yes.
it's and it's still, it's like looking in a glass bowl, because I have no idea what we're going to be discussing by the end of this year, what happened. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I do have a positive outlook for 2025. There's some good things coming.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a ride. We just need to hang on.
Hang on. Yeah. Keep calm, carry on, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. And we're looking to expand the podcast and interview some of the interesting people that we meet in our industries and over the coming months. So something to look out for. We've got a couple of speakers lined up. An area that I'm passionate about is archives and preserving history, and hopefully we'll be speaking to some of the people that live and breathe there in the coming months and weeks.
Absolutely. And I'm very passionate about rights management and governance and things like that. So I'm also very much looking forward to exploring those areas as well. And learn from the industry. Yes. Super excited about it.
Exactly. Lots to learn. We're all dealing with content in different ways and facing similar challenges, maybe at different scales, but lots to be taken from it, one industry to another.
We'll see and catch up soon.